This podcast is also available via stagelink.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts. Please support the podcast by liking, subscribing, commenting, and tagging the podcast. It helps us to continue to bring the industry high level content. I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto, and today on the Circuspreneur Podcast, I'm joined by the electrifying duo behind Cake Without Candles, award winning production, songwriting, and composing team, Elizabeth and Scotty Lund. Welcome to the podcast, Elizabeth and Scotty.
Thank
Hey,
you. Hi.
thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Oh, you guys are funny. You're so cute. Thank you so much for coming on. Just to let listeners know a bit about you before we do our deep dive, Scotty and Elizabeth Lund are a powerhouse creative duo redefining resilience through performance. Elizabeth spent 15 years as a professional Cirque artist, aerialist, hand balancer, and acrobat before transitioning into stunt work and joining forces creatively with her husband, Scotty. Scotty began his career as a drummer with Agent Orange and went on to perform with artists like Rihanna and Drake, later expanding into writing, producing, and scoring music. Together for 13 years, they've discovered a rhythm in combining music, circus, and storytelling. Their newest project, an aerial and drum act fused with a keynote concert, is born from Scotty's 6-year battle with cancer and their shared journey of overcoming adversity with creativity. You both have just a phenomenal story that we have spoken about off the podcast. And I was really inspired to have you both on as advocates, for artists going through just, I think, unimaginable adversity. And we spoke a lot about, initially about coming onto the podcast about, how challenging it can be for artists when we have things that come into our lives such as cancer diagnoses or other life crisis that sometimes our industry doesn't really support us in the best ways. And so, I'm really excited to speak to you both about how you made it through this very challenging time in your life. I mean, you've both been together for a very long time. I was just thinking before you came onto the podcast too, and we'll talk a little bit about your most recent journey as the America's Favorite Couple, but this is a very timely issue, I think, in terms of, folks are worrying about their healthcare, and if they will, continue to have their healthcare and will it be affordable for them? That is a very big topic, especially in art spaces where a lot of artists don't have access to affordable healthcare, and are afraid what that might look like in the next coming months. I know a lot of artists that have specialty circus insurance, for example, but don't have regular traditional healthcare and health insurance or access to traditional healthcare. And so, in that, I think a very, dramatic type of icebreaker for our episode. But again, because you both have been through so much and you've been through it in such a really, I think, positive and cool and innovative way. I mean, the spirit that you both share together with everything you've been through, I think is just really, something to inspire folks, especially if they feel like they're going through a very difficult and dramatic time. So do we want to start off speaking a bit to that in terms of how you see that right now, and how is that affecting your own experience right now, Scotty as a cancer survivor, and then also to Elizabeth as a supportive partner along the way?
Yeah. Do you want to go first? You want me to?
We are stronger than forever.
Yay!
Also, one of our songs is called Stronger Than Forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try not to step on each other's toes. So I'm going to let her speak first. We like to pass the baton. We've done this before, so go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a really, really relevant point. I mean, I will say way back in the day when I first moved to LA and I was a circus performer, there was a chunk of years that I didn't have health insurance because for what I was earning, it was really expensive. And I've never, I've, knock on wood, been very healthy. I've taken care of myself, and it just weighing out paying for it when that was still an option without being penalized. I don't go to traditional doctors that much unless there's an emergency. And so I kind of went, you know what? I'm good. I'll deal with it if I need to. But now it's a really different thing. We have probably some of the best insurance possible through SAG-AFTRA, even though they doubled their prices during COVID with no warning. It still is a lot less than a lot of people pay. And so we feel very fortunate. But despite that, the cost of cancer, any medical research, one round of chemo, one shot of something to combat it, is up in like the 20 to 30,000 per one treatment range. And so when doctors go, yeah, it's going to be 6 months every 2 weeks, even though we only owe, the the prepays or copays or whatever up until a certain point, and then 10%, it's a lot of money. And so that's a lot of stress. So we felt very fortunate to have what we had, but it also really was a struggle. And obviously, I was the only one working at the time. We had my stepdaughter, his kid at the time, who was 10, 11, 12, still very young. So that was a lot. It was a lot on an emotional level. It was a lot on just hustling and working and trying to pay bills and stay positive. And yeah, it's a really crucial time right now with people potentially losing healthcare and losing the affordability of healthcare when it isn't even affordable. So yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy times. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will add to that, and thank you for bringing Snow up. My beautiful kid, out of respect to they them, and I love them, and they went through a lot, just as much as Elizabeth did while I was sick. But I would not have survived with Elizabeth. It doesn't matter about the insurance. It doesn't matter about anything else. You know, when you're on your deathbed, and I was there in the hospital in 2018 November.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was, and we write about this. We perform this in the keynote and talk about it. It was really like, it comes down to your family, who is with you, that love you, and you don't think about the career, the drums, the spotlight. It all goes out the window. I was just breathing. I was trying to survive. I was about 40 pounds lighter, and I'm 6'1", 160 pounds. So like, I didn't have any room for, to lose weight. So you can imagine. So, but to add to the monetary stuff, I was really lucky to get in with Obamacare's ACA, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had Obamacare, and
Same.
yeah, so I was fine with that for a little while. Elizabeth came along. I think by the time we got married, I was able to relinquish that. The prices were definitely going up at some point, but also at the cost of everybody else having to pay for that too. It was a great program, but it was never finessed, and so a lot of people's healthcare went up. And so we don't know where we're standing with that, but at least with the SAG after healthcare, yeah, the premiums went way down, and as a family plan, it worked out great. Snow's on it. But we still needed to come up with money. And fortunately, with the network we have in the between musicians and the stunts, it was her idea, but she went for an Indiegogo or GoFundMe.
A GoFundMe.
Mhm.
And so we raised a bunch of money for that. And that was crucial because we were very much into trying Eastern medicine as much as we could holistic. Unfortunately, the cancer, I was too far gone. The cancer, just to put in perspective, it was the size of an orange when I first found it, and then it was the size of a small, dodgeball by the time it was 15 centimeters by the time I was in the hospital. Big old.
Wow.
So we had to do chemo. Chemo saved me, and we write about this. It didn't cure the cancer. So I relapsed for a few years after that. The money really helped with everything that we raised from the GoFundMe. So I encourage anybody who's got too much pride, please just don't do it yourself. Just allow somebody else to do it. Everybody else wants to help.
I'm just going to interject. When I first said it, he really didn't want to do it. He wanted it to be private. And we just kind of looked at each other and went, you know what? We really need this. And outside of the money part of it, it really was feeling people's love, even if all they could donate was $10 and they shared it on their pages, and just the loving messages that people sent and the reach outs. That, as much as the financial help, was really, really special. Even, stunt people that he didn't even know, he went, oh my goodness, who are these people? And oh, I feel so touched by this. And, so that's a really special part of it too. It's really hard for us to ask for help when we need it. But it also really brings out, people and community and friends from the woodwork, or even strangers who see something that a friend shares and they feel really touched and they want to help. So I think that's part of the important message as well. Reach out when you need help.
Yeah, community, absolutely. There is no I in team.
Yeah, and you both show that, so beautifully, and I love that, you're again mixing both of the worlds together. I mean, you both come from so many backgrounds and so many worlds. I mean, like, and thankfully, again, like harnessing that level of support, because we do need so much. And I think sometimes, especially as like performers, even discussing like benefits and do you have access to different care? Sometimes it is very hard for us, because we do feel very self-reliant. We feel like we're supposed to be able to make it on our own, and we're all self-made, and we're creatives. And so, a lot of us, again, like to our own, to our own beat, dance to our own beat. And we like, I think, to exist out of a lot of social norms, which again, sometimes when, things come up in life, you have to also know what are the structures in place that can support you and save you. And so what do you think in terms of understanding that is really important for artists to understand, especially when it comes to partnerships? So many of us are in partnership with one another where we're both artists, and sometimes leaning on one another can be tricky if, we're both in maybe an unstable space, or again, we're both coming from, that artistic mindset, and, one isn't maybe in the traditional 9 to 5, and we're both trying to make it work and build things from scratch. Like, that's not easy to do. And you've both been able to do that. You have your marriage, you also have your working partnership, doing your keynote and your inspiring messages that you're putting out together too as a partnership, which I would like to again discuss that a bit more with you too, about how you communicated through that time to make it through something so stressful and so big. You have such both like very, fluid personalities, but I can imagine too that, that is not for the faint of heart in, navigating that together. So either one.
You want us to speak to it? Okay.
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So that is a much, we probably need an hour to talk about this. Okay. So
I don't have enough time. I know.
So a couple key things. I think from the get-go, Elizabeth and I, E and I really we were very clear about our communication. There was a couple hiccups in the beginning that were really kind of funny looking back on it. I left her after 3 months because it was too reminiscent of just, I can't deal with moods. And I'm thinking, and then she handled it really well. Rather than the typical response that I'm not going to just generalize every relationship I've ever had, but
Sure.
most of the time it was just like a lot of screaming and yelling and whatever. But she just kind of just put her, her nice cap on, or whatever you want to call it, and just I came forward and just was really honest and said, well, that's fine. I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with me. He wrote me a nice little paragraph that was summing up like what you're doing. I don't think it's fair, but that's fine. Can I come get my stuff? And it was something in the wording, and this was 3 months into our relationship. Something in the wording grabbed me. I stuck my tail between my legs when she showed up at my door, and I'm like, well, do you want to come in and talk about this? And, so one thing led to another, we stayed together, but it was instantly, I realized that there was a communication that we had that I never had from anybody. And it was honesty. It's taken a lot of work because as the years go on, it's very easy to get sick of some of the stuff that we do to each other or we say to each other. And we say this affectionately all the time. There's nothing that I haven't to her about. Like, we love each other dearly, but you're going to rub each other the wrong way at some point. How do you deal with that? I'm not going to lie. There's been a little, I've had it kept in my pocket this whole time was a referee. Somebody who's been in my life, who helped me learn how to swaddle a child and help me learn how to deal with my mom's or my baby mama, the child's baby mom, the baby mama. And so we had a really rough relationship, and it was not, I love my kid, but we had it rough for that entire time with that relationship. So early on, I had to learn how to communicate. She became kind of a friend, but also she was really somebody I could speak to on a psychological level. And then enter our marriage, we started realizing, okay, if we have these little hiccups, well, let's just go see our lady. And so it really does help to have a referee. We don't go to regular therapy. It's just nice when we need to call in the big guns and go, okay, we're clearly not communicating well. We know when we've gone overboard, when we can't really afford to be around each other's energy at that moment, or 2 hours or even a day. It's like, all right, we need to call her in. So that's been the other thing. So why don't you take the baton?
Yeah, I mean, I really think communication is key, and also both people having the desire to make something work and being willing to do the work. Because it doesn't matter, one person may be so willing, and if the other person isn't also, it will never work. And it doesn't feel equal. So I think in any relationship, whether it's a romantic one, a partnership, as we know in the circus, or even with music and bands, you are in relationships with people. And, as an entertainer and as an athlete and as a musician, everyone needs a certain amount of I don't love the word ego necessarily, but to get you up there, to get you to that level, to get on that stage, a certain amount of confidence, but then it can't become a conflicting, it's all about me sort of thing. So I think that's what we managed to do really well, is both get to be our own people and support each other as our own people, but communicate, and when we run into things, figure out ways to work through them and just really stay there for each other and support each other. And yeah, I mean, it's hard. On the one hand, I think it's been almost easier because we both come from entertainment. So we get the crazy world of like, hey, I have a call. I need to leave tomorrow for a month. Whereas people with
Right.
ordinary jobs might get frustrated and lose their patience and be like, I'm over it. I don't want to be part of this. We can just figure it out and just make it work and support one another. On the other hand, it's very trying because we do both freelance. So neither one of us has any regularity of anything. And especially entertainment, since the strikes a couple years ago, entertainment has not really come back in full force. So it's just a
Right.
whole different world, and it's constantly changing. And then the political climate in this country and really all over the world right now, it's so messy and chaotic, and it affects everything. It's affecting the economy, which affects us as performers. So, we're just kind of trying to be patient and see it through and do what we do for the right reasons, and not give up hope, but also be as realistic as we can about how do we pay our bills versus what do we do.
Right. And you both were part of the contest. And please remind me what it was called again. It was like America's Greatest Couple,
America's
America's
favorite couple.
Favorite Couple. Okay. And so you were recently vying for America's Favorite Couple.
Yes.
Yes,
And
we were.
we talked a little bit about, how that went and, how interesting that was, pursuing that and the challenges associated with it. But I think that you are just such a really cool, fascinating couple. And I'm imagining you did, again, really well in that. So can you tell listeners a little bit about what that journey was and why you guys threw, your hat in the ring, why you wanted to become America's Favorite Couple? And then also to moving into, the inspiration behind your keynote and how these, recent life challenges and then also to your couples goals have influenced, your keynote and why you're doing it and where you see yourselves taking your keynote and the show that you are seeking to devise around that.
Okay.
How about you
Yeah.
take the
Okay.
baton on the? I'll talk about the
So the
keynote.
America's Favorite Couple, Jeff Goldblum and his wife Emily, were hosting.
Who we are all mutual friends of. So we
Yeah.
all go, yeah,
Well,
we all go way, way, way back.
I can't say I'd known Jeff. We all know who he is. But yes, we know we performed with Emily. I have performed with Emily. It's been a long time. The last time I did a show with her was when early days when she and Jeff were still dating.
Oh.
But then, of course, we follow each other on social media and whatnot. And so we saw something pop up where they were talking about this and went like, oh, that looks fun.
Hmm.
What do we have to lose? Let's just, throw our names in. In the meantime, the competition was they didn't really disclose much of what it was, just like, hey, register for this chance to win, whatever it was, $10,000 or $20,000 in a spread in Vanity Fair. And we're like, okay, great. Or Variety. We went, okay. So in the meantime, we later found out there were over 200,000 couples.
It's crazy.
I
I
mean, so
cannot believe that number.
started, we got that email, hey, welcome, you made it. And we're like, oh, okay, well, this is cool. Great. What do we do? And so we started off, you're in a group with 20 people, but nobody knew how many groups there were. And each round was roughly a week where, you need to end up in the top one of your group by the end of the week. And in our business, we have to post on social media. That's just a thing. So people can hear your music and see what you do. That's how we get jobs. That's how we get fans. So we kind of looked at it as a great opportunity to go, okay, well, here we go. I guess we have to post regularly. So I would say the biggest plus about that was we got really good at posting regularly, and we
Hmm.
kind of fell into a fun rhythm of like, rather than just going, hi guys, can you vote for us? Doing fun little skits, doing fun little snippets here and there. We were traveling in Italy for about 5 weeks. So we would, be posting
Mm.
here in Rome or the Amalfi Coast or in these beautiful places and talking about what we were doing. So that was really fun. It was a lot of work. And then, yeah, of course, when the rounds kept going and going and going, we eventually were going like, okay, how many people really are in this? How many rounds and how long does this, what's going on? So we moved to the semifinals, the second to last round, which was about
Wow.
163 couples,
Wow.
and we made it to number 3 in our group. And within the whole thing, of course, we were a little disappointed we didn't win, but in the end, it ended up like how many people vote, and then you can buy votes as well. So, but the end goal was to raise money for the LA Food Bank and Oceana, which are both fantastic nonprofits. And so at the end of the day, we raised almost $4 million. All the people that were part of that. And then ironically,
Collectively.
yeah, ironically, we went and saw Jeff Goldblum was doing a show with his jazz band, and Emily made a debut of a really cute act, her contortion and hand balancing on his piano. And we got to go backstage and say hi. So we did finally meet him, but it was really fun to reconnect with Emily and say hey to Jeff. And the show was amazing as well. But yeah, it was cool. And she was the one who went, oh my God, you guys, it was so great. We raised almost $4 million. So we felt really good about our part in it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We were actually able to raise somewhere between 5 and 10 grand, weren't we?
Probably.
Wow.
I don't know.
But it was really cool because it's really about you're not begging at that point. You're just going, hey, this is really helping us to get to the top, but this is going to a good cause. And we were really clear, like, without beating him over the head with this whole thing. Up the numbers a little bit, and I mean, people really put in the money where they could, and we raised about $6,000. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that it went to really great causes. And that was that was also your main motivation of giving back and using your relationship and the beauty surrounding that as harnessing for good, which is great. I love it when those competitions and things are connected to that. So like you're saying, it's not just like an outward like self-promotion. It's also going to something that's going to benefit those in need and, those that are less fortunate. So I think that's wonderful. And then, so in moving on, because we don't have that much time left in the podcast, we have about, like 8 minutes left. And I really want to talk also too about your keynote and all of the energy and the work that you've put into your keynote. I think it's really fascinating, the work that you've done. It's very innovative. It's very unique keynote. And so I'd love to hear, again, what was the influences, obviously like the undercurrents of your story and being a cancer survivor and your relationship and all of the different work that you've done over the years too. And, your creative efforts kind of coalescing into like one big moment. What was the motivation behind it and why are you inspired to do it? And what do you want folks to get out of your keynote too?
I'm going to let you deliver the message. I'll tell you, I'll try to do this in 50 seconds. So I became a studio rat when I'm raising my daughter, and I kind of stopped doing the whole live thing, and I got more into producing and writing. And then I got into the world of sync, because that's a really legit way for musicians to make money these days. And about 6 years ago, it still wasn't too saturated. And I went to an event that kind of my coach teaching me how to do this stuff. And she had given us a sync right before I got sick. And so we really thought we were going to go into that lane for a while. And cut to 2 years later, everybody was doing sync. So that's fine. I went and this lady that ran this whole course in this company, she was giving a sync convention, and I went and saw her speak, and halfway through it, I just went up to her and said, I want to thank you. I'm a cancer survivor, and before I had cancer, you gave us our first sync. And she remembered who I was. And she looked at me, and she's a podcaster as well, Kathy Heller. And she said, hey, do you want to get up and tell your story? So pretty much like, screw her agenda. She wanted to talk to me, and she asked me questions for about 20 minutes. And apparently I had a really good impact because I put everybody in tears. My comeback story. I went home. I was really excited because I had always wanted to do that in some way. I didn't know it was going to be about that. And I told Elizabeth, I said, it felt so awesome to move people. Can't we do this with music somehow? And it's not just my journey, it's your journey. Literally within a week, we had an email from somebody who does this and teaches people how to do these keynotes called Keynote concerts. It's just a little twist on the keynotes. A lot of keynotes could be really boring. And so you basically you tell people your story, and then there's a whole message at the end without preaching, and then you're playing songs in between, and the songs sort of just work well with it. So that's how that whole blossomed. We got through the course. We're really excited. We put it together. The only reason why we haven't done it is because I ended up with a relapse. I fought cancer for a long time, and I wasn't really, we were talking about how I got through the cancer, how we got through it. But I didn't feel authentic by going, okay, so there's how I got out of it. But truth be told, I have it again. So it just, we haven't really been able to get into it. But in the meantime, we're putting together to open for ourselves. It's a little bit of an a la carte thing if people want it, the aerial drum act. And so what's cool is I composed a whole piece of music, and then we did some narration over it. We'll have to send it to you after so you can kind of hear it. And so she's narrating. I just produced it, so our voices are in there kind of subliminally. There's some facts about cancer, and it's a really dope song. And this whole 5-minute piece, walking out, and we relive the cancer experience. I'm walking out in black, and I'm sick. She's carrying me, and then she starts twirling around me and doing a very artsy thing, gets up on these white silks, and just wakes me up. And that's the whole process of her, bringing me alive. I would not be here without her. I'll take that to my next grave. And so not yet. We're not ready yet for the grave. And
Yeah.
so by the end, I've stripped off my black. I'm in white. She's in white or black on these beautiful white things. And she looks so angelic up there on the silks. And I'm playing drums because that's really the roots. And I'm just sort of interacting. We're still finessing the act, and then it's just like there it is. There's the piece that's like, I survived, and that's going to open the keynote. So that's how we got into it. That's how it all evolved. And then you can kind of,
yeah, so it's our intention is we do lots of different things. I still do stunts for a living. Obviously, we're getting back into aerial for this part of this. The intention is to revive the keynote, but we want to kind of tweak and rewrite it a little and, workshop it enough. And I mean, really the end goal of it is, rather than having it be like this dramatic, oh my God, we survived cancer, is to make something good of it. Like, everybody has some difficult experience, whether it's themselves or a family member or a friend. More people are getting cancer now than ever. But kind of, to share our story and to be real about it, and to also give people hope that we can come through these things, we can learn something from it, what we have learned from it, what we've learned, about our support system, about each other, about our relationship surviving, which sometimes that doesn't, and sort of about, hopefully not waiting until you get some dramatic thing like cancer to be like, oh my God, what do I want to do with my life? Not everyone has to get that to then push them to go, okay, let me step back. Am I really doing what I want? But yeah, just to inspire and to connect. And eventually, I think we'll expand beyond just that story with our keynotes, because we love to be on stage. We're still working on tying in, the speaking, the music, the different elements, whether it is circus or whatnot. But yeah, it's really exciting.
That's wonderful. That's really amazing. You're both so inspiring, equally inspiring. And so how can folks support your work? What kind of support are you looking for specifically?
That's a great question. The best way to find us, Cake Without Candles, is the name of our production company / band. We have various artist projects now for people in music. A lot of times when you're an artist, you have a sound. Because we're a production team, we work in a bunch of different types of sounds, because that appeals to when you're writing for a pitch, when you're writing for a TV show versus a film versus ads. So we have a really wide spectrum. So we have a couple artist projects within that. But if you look up Cake Without Candles anywhere on social media, we have a website, cakewithoutcandles.com. You can get hip to most of that. We are finessing our keynote page, so there will be a link to that as well. If people are interested in that, they can just message us and say, hey, I'd love to see your material. We do have that. We're just finessing our website, so it's currently not quite where we want it to be. But yeah, if you're fans of music, if you need music for a project, we love playing live. We like collaborating. We love writing custom music for various projects, scoring for film and TV, stunts, obviously, drumming. So all the fun things.
Yeah, I'll just add, I know she mentioned the socials, but if most people have IG, and if you go on there, there's a link It's a Linktree link. So click on that and you will go down the rabbit hole of what we do and what we're all about. You'll see composer reels, stunt reels, all of our music's on Spotify, Tidal, all this stuff. And so, yeah, it's really fun. And you can, and the website, a lot of people don't really go to websites these days, but we love our website. Go to our website.
Yeah, it's got some fun links.
I love a good website shout out.
Yeah, right.
So true. But I love it. I love it. It's still keeping the websites alive. But thank you both so much. You're so fantastic. You're fabulous. I love to see everything that you're working on. Your music is awesome. Again, everyone go on Spotify so you can support Elisabeth. You can support Scotty and collaborate. And I'm sure that you'll continue to evolve. And I just wish you all the best in your cancer continuous journey. And more and more and more years of healthy living too for you, Scotty, as you move through these different transitions of your life and, your transitions as a couple as well. Thank you both so much. I'm so honored to have you on the podcast sharing, such a phenomenal journey that's not easy to share, but you share it in such a seamless and positive way. And I really appreciate you both for, stepping up to life and, bringing some positivity back into the, artist community. And I know that artists could really use that support right now too, more than ever. So thank you both again. And listeners, this Circuspreneur podcast is also available on stagelink.com, stagelync.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts that provides unmatched access and connection to this vibrant world of shows and entertainment. If you're a professional in the performing arts, visit stagelink.com/pro. StageLink Pro, StageLyncPro, offers industry professionals higher visibility, networking opportunities, and tools to support and enhance their careers. Until next time, everyone, I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto. Please stay tuned to the next episode of the Circuspreneur Podcast. And until next time, please stay safe and stay healthy.